Unyal, Pro Mateti, Vice President HR, Sintel Pune. Wing Commander PVC Patil, retired, Executive Director, DYPIMS. Dr. Bharat Chavan Patil, Managing Director, Operations, DYPIMS. Professor D.R. Karnure, Consultant Director, DYPIMS. Dr. J.G. Patil, Head Corporate Relations, DYPIMS. Dr. Ashutosh Misal, Director, DYPIMS. Research scholars, faculty members, student fraternity, and staff. A very warm welcome to all of you to this valedictory function. I, Rituja, second year student, DYPIMS, and
I, Rachel, first year student, DYPIMS,
host for this session. We have been listening to eminent speakers yesterday and today. All these valuable insights gave us a new perspective that one should adopt while we go through this paradigm shift in business management, emerging trends, and competitive strategies.
On this note, we now begin with the Felicitation Program. I request Executive Director, Wing Commander PVC Patil, retired sir, to felicitate the Chief Guest, Dr. Dwarika Unyal, Pro Vice Chancellor, RV University, Bangalore. Thank you, sir. I now request our Managing Director, Dr. Bharat Chavan Patil, sir, to felicitate the Guest of Honor, Mr. Sudhir Mateti, Vice President, HR, Sintel, Pune.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
To begin with, I would like to request Dr. Ashutosh Misal, Director DYPIMS, to address the gathering.
Thank you, Rutuja. Good evening, all of you. It's my pleasure and an honor to welcome Chief Guest Dr. Dwarika Unyal, Vice Chancellor, Guest of Honor Mr. Sudhir Mateti, who's Guest of Honor for this valedictory session, and it's my honor to welcome both of you, sir. Let me welcome Executive Director, Wing Commander PVC Patil, sir, retired, who is Executive Director for DYPIMS, Managing Director Operations, Dr. Bharat Chavan Patil, sir, Consultant Director, Professor D.R. Karnure, sir, and Head Corporate Relations, Dr. J.G. Patil, sir. I welcome for this valedictory function, dear all participant researchers, my faculty and staff and students of DYPIMS. Few of the parents have also joined this national conference since yesterday. DYPIMS has always been on the top of the conferences which have been organized under Pune University. So National Conference of DYPIMS every day or every year, happens to be one of the flagship events of DYPIMS, wherein we invite the guests and dignitaries of the cadre of Vice Chancellor, Managing Directors, CEOs and COOs that we have been seeing in last 2 days as well. We started yesterday, day one of this 2 days national conference with the inauguration session where Managing Director Sankar Sealing Systems, Mr. Jaishankar Unnithan was the chief guest. Dr. Sushil Kumar from IIM Visakhapatnam, he was the guest of honor. Then we had a session by Dr. Anna Doroshuk, who is from Odessa National University, Ukraine. Later in the second half of the day, we saw Dr. Abhay Vidani, Head Data Science, Yatra.com, speaking to us. Manoj Menon, Vice President Operations, O Group of Hotels. Bijoy Thomas Palikal, Chief Operating Officer of SPAR from Abu Dhabi, Dubai. Today we started with the paper presentations, and we are very proud to mention that 60 plus research papers have been presented during this conference coming from 12 plus different states. We had Dr. Meghna, Dr. Mohsin, Dr. Sunil, Dr. Umesh, Dr. Padmapriya, and Dr. Poonam as the external referee members, along with our internal faculty members with them for evaluating the papers. Mr. Kunal Sharma had a session today who's a Six Sigma expert in the afternoon today. And now we are here for the valedictory function of the 2 days national conference on the topic paradigm shift in business management, emerging trends and competitive strategies. So I once again welcome Dr. Dwarika Unyal, sir, and Mr. Sudhir Mateti, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. That was full of insights. I now request Dr. Bharat Chavan Patil, Managing Director Operations, DYPIMS, to enlighten us with his words.
Thank you. Very good evening to one and all. Respected Chief Guest, Dr. Dwarika Unyal, sir, Pro Vice Chancellor at RV University, Bangalore. Guest of Honor, Mr. Sudhir Mateti ji, VP HR at Sintel, Pune. Wing Commander PVC Patil sir, Executive Director at DYPIMS, Professor DR Karnure sir, Consultant Director DYPIMS, Dr. JG Patil sir, Head Corporate Relations at DYPIMS, Dr. Ashutosh Misal sir, Director DYPIMS, faculty, staff, and my dear students. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to the valedictory function of National Conference 2022. Here we have explored the topic Paradigm Shift in Business Management, Emerging Trends and Competitive Strategies. I thank all the research scholars, both students as well as faculty, for submitting and presenting the papers. Our referees deserve a special mention for they spared the valuable time judging the presentations and grading them. I'm sure they must have a tough time picking the winners. I thank the following people: Dr. Meghna Bilare, who is the director at Dr. D.Y. Patil Institute of Management and Research, Pune; Dr. Mohsin Sheikh, professor at Institute of Professional Studies, Pune; Dr. Sunil Doke, professor at MIT College of Management, Pune; Dr. Padmapriya Irabatti, professor, Symbiosis Center for Distance Learning, Pune; Dr. Anish Karya, assistant professor at SD Patil Institute of Management Studies, Akodi; and Dr. Poonam Vatarkar, associate professor at Institute of Management and Career, and all the members of the National Conference. Volunteers also deserve a special mention. So thank you to all of them. For our well-wishers and founding members of DYPIMS, namely our Executive Director, Wing Commander PVC Patil sir, Consultant Director Professor DR Karnure sir, and Head Corporate Relations Dr. JG Patil sir. Without your guidance and support, this wouldn't have been possible. Last but not the least, I thank our chief guest, Dr. Dwarika Unyal sir, and guest of honor, Mr. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
I am profusely overjoyed to take this opportunity to introduce our guest of honor of the day, Mr. Sudhir Mateti, Vice President HR Sintel, Pune. Mr. Sudhir Mateti is currently the Head Human Resources at Sintel Telecom and NK Converge Technologies, Pune. Sir has professional exposure of more than 25 years. He has also worked with reputed organizations like Reliance Infocom, Tata Group, SR Group, Aditya Birla Group. He is passionate about training and development since 3 decades and aims to build future efficient workforce and talented leaders. Sir has a dream to build skill development centers and incubators for building employability skills in all rural students, thereby giving them a platform in the form of employment and entrepreneurship development. Along with that, he is a motivational speaker, life coach, and a visiting faculty to many business schools and engineering colleges across India. Mr. Sudhir Mateti is popular in HR fraternity, conferences, seminars, webinars, and academicians. Apart from that, he also works actively for various social cause initiatives and is always on his toes to contribute for the betterment. He is a part of various HR forums and groups and is also the Vice President Growth and Development for CHRD, a non-profit HR organization. He is the founder member of HR Care. Now I request our distinguished guest of honor, Mr. Sudhir Mateti, Vice President HR Sintel, to address the gathering and to give his precious inputs. We wholeheartedly welcome him with a big round of applause.
Thank you very much. Am I audible? If I'm audible,
sir.
just very good.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much for such a wonderful, warm introduction. It's my pleasure to be a part of DYPIMS National Conference Valedictory function. I am constantly in touch with DYPIMS for various seminars and conferences, and I actually second or value that flagship program every year. This national conference not only brings students together, also gives them exposure of a lot of things. I congratulate all those people who have presented their PhD papers and wish them all the best and success in this entire program. This brings about a lot of learning together. All these industry experts that they come here to give their information and knowledge to the audience. Probably this is what will help people to manage the paradigm shift in the coming years. All these years, while I worked in the various organizations, I realized that the academicians and the industry, there is always a huge gap. I have never heard professors or HODs coming to the organizations and understanding what kind of employability skills should they introduce in their program so that the students are better off and ready to be employed the moment they complete their programs. But I see this initiative from DY Patil Group and always one step ahead from other organizations, other academicians to make this happen. I appreciate Dr. Ashutosh, that director, and I appreciate all those senior people who are involved in making this bridge shorter and shorter. I am very happy that the students are also enthusiastic. The large number of students who join this program with great discipline, irrespective of wherever they are, irrespective of their challenges, they still continue to work towards it. This is one important thing that will help us to grow. In this entire VUCA world that we call, the paradigm shift not only in business management, but also in our thought process, psychology, and all other resources that are available to us. One thing that stands of paramount importance is our attitude to handle this change. It is nicely said that change is a constant parameter. And to adapt ourselves to this new constant parameter called change, we need to be adaptable to change every minute. And this adaptability skill stands or ranks highest in the today's world, which is going to change every minute. The entire globe did not foresee a pandemic, and this pandemic we saw a lot of businesses becoming extinct and a lot of new businesses coming into trends. There are a lot of new job roles which are evolved over a period of time. Data analytics suddenly takes a new shape. Digital marketing suddenly takes a new shape. Social media marketing creates a new venue for a lot of people. So in those days when I was a student, connecting to people, audience, population, and marketing of a product was a difficult challenge. Today, connecting to people is just a click away. It is just that what you develop, there are millions of customers or millions of OEMs who develop the same thing. In what way are you different from the millions of producers is what makes a difference. And how you present it to the audience makes a difference. I am very happy that these 2-3 days of national conference gives a lot of horizon to people. It is a platform where a lot of learnings comes on table. All these students of the current generation and specifically the students of DY Patil Institute are so lucky and privileged to have such large information on this platform readily available to them. During our days, we have to go through hardships. We have to go to so many other things to gather one piece of information. Today, information is power. Now, the next step that I would recommend all students is, while this information is available, abundance of information is available, what is important is a small transformation. A small transformation within you to break the shackles, to break the ceiling, to break the ice, to move ahead, to have an attitude which absorbs this transformation and willing to attack everything. Remember, each problem that you face is not a problem. Remove this word problem from the dictionary and change it into temporary obstacle. These are temporary obstacles, not huge problems. If you handle them as temporary obstacles, learn them and move 1 inch ahead every day, I am sure you will achieve what you want to achieve. This I won't take long for this session. This is a short note from my end to all the students. Once again, I congratulate DY Patil to successfully conduct such a wonderful national conference, which gives a lot of knowledge to people. I am privileged to be a guest of honor for such a wonderful national conference, and I'm thankful to all the organizers who have organized this wonderful event in such a wonderful professional fashion. The students also get to know that next time, whether they are in a pre-campus interview, whether they are in an interview, or whether they are in any other conference, how to present their content to the audience is also one learning that you get from these. You have seen various industry experts, speakers. You also get to learn how they present their thought process, what is their skill set, what kind of media they use to present, whether it is a PPT, whether it is an audio, whether it is a video. So a lot of integration of various devices and training aids to present their thought. So for the student who is the millennial or the current generation students, you will have to scale a roadmap for the next generation output and be able to use all these technological aids to design and develop your thought process and present it to any audience that you think of. If you're able to learn this much from this national conference, I'm sure the objective of the conference will be met far before it ends. This is all from Sudhir Muteti for all of you. Thank you so much. It is a pleasant surprise for me to be here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir, for appreciating our institute for the corporate concern shown by our management for transforming the students to professionals. You rightly said that change is the only thing which will be constant, and we assure you that at DYPIMS, we follow the footprints shown by you. Thank you, sir, once again.
I'm exuberantly elated to take an opportunity to introduce our guest of honor. I'm exuberantly elated to take an opportunity to introduce our chief guest, Dr. Dwarika Unyal, Pro Vice Chancellor, RV University, Bangalore. Professor Unyal is currently the Pro Vice Chancellor and Dean with RV University and was the former Dean with Flame University. He brings with him rich and varied experience for more than 25 years in premier academic institutions and industry. In an academic career spanning over 2 decades, Professor Unyal taught at premier B schools like IIM Kashipur, MICA Ahmedabad, SPJIMR Mumbai, and SP Jain School of Global Management, Dubai. Professor Unyal was also part of OP Jindal Global University as the founding assistant dean. In the past, he had been invited by Government of India to serve as Professor of Management in India's premier academy, Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie, to train India's civil services. Professor Unyal served on the board of Braithwaite and Company Limited, a CPSE in the Ministry of Railways as an independent director, and was instrumental in reviving the Sikh PSUs. He also serves on the advisory board of social and commercial enterprises like SDCUK, Project Fuel, Venture Garage, Little Local, Himalaya to Home, and many more. In the academic world, he is known for his best-selling book, Managing Retailing, published by Oxford University Press. He is an academic entrepreneur, having worked towards many startup institutions. He is a published poet and dabbles in creative writing for advertising world with creative agencies like ASR and ARM worldwide. I request Dr. Dwarika Unyal to grace the stage. We're extremely delighted at his presence today. We wholeheartedly welcome you with a big round of applause.
Thank you everyone, and good evening. It's a pleasure that I'm able to interact with all the dignitaries, with me, Mr. Muteti, the officials of DYPIMS, the director, the Professor Pallavi Kudal, who is responsible for having me here. Thank you. And all the organizers of the National Conference on the Paradigm Shift in Business Management, Emerging Trends and Competitive Strategies. I think you've been deliberating a lot in last two days, and a lot of management jargon would have come to you in last 2 days, a lot of thoughts, models, ideas, and it's an evening, it's a pleasant evening. Then in Bangalore, where I am right now, and I'm sure having lived in Pune, I know that Pune at this time of the year is one of the most beautiful of the times when the weather is extremely beautiful. So I would rather take a little unusual route. Somebody mentioned that I happen to be a poet. So I would start my session with not the management jargon, with a little 4 lines dedicated to the evening. ये शाम अच्छी है तो इस शाम के नाम कुछ चंद पंक्तियां, कुछ शेर, तो इसका नाम है शनिवार की शाम. So that will change the mood of the discussion and deliberation. And then I will talk a bit about my thoughts about management education, management per se, what's really happening to the larger world of business in the post-pandemic world, or the pandemic continues. In that particular world, how do we go about managing it? So, ये शनिवार की भीगी भीगी हुई शाम, ये शनिवार की भीगी भीगी हुई शाम, लटकते बादलों से झुकी हुई शाम, बत्तियों से चकाचौंध तुम्हारे शहर में, बत्तियों से चकाचौंध तुम्हारे शहर की, महकती कॉफी सी जगी हुई शाम, शनिवार की भीगी भीगी हुई शाम. मास्कों में बंद हल्के शोर वाली, अजनबी रिश्ते बंधे डोर वाली, ना पिए उन खाली गिलासों के इंतजार से यूं नहाई हुई शाम, शनिवार की भीगी भीगी हुई शाम, लटकते बादलों से झुकी झुकी हुई शाम. भीड़ में सूने सूने कोने तलाशती, मेरे उन अपने ख्वाबों को तराशती, सन्नाटों की परछाइयां अकेली हैं शायद, काले कंबलों को ओढ़कर लौटती हुई शाम, शनिवार की भीगी भीगी हुई शाम. सो शाम के बारे में बात हो गई, शाम की बातें हो गई, तो let me then start the discussion about management education. I think one of the things which is extremely critical, which is really happening both in the larger ecosystem of management, which is business, in terms of business's ability to spot and make changes. All those paradigms were quashed. They were all, sent out of the window the moment pandemic hit. 2020, same time, nobody had any clue what is in store for us 2 years ago. Neither academic institutions, nor students, nor the industry. All of us thought that it's a virus which is there like the last SARS one, probably a couple of weeks here and there. And by the time the Prime Minister said there is a weekend curfew and the Janta curfew, we thought maybe in a couple of months' time, everything will be normal. The normal never happened, then became the new normal. And today we have to live with it.
नॉर्थ इंडियाचे लोक सगळे पोएट असतात, म्हणजे काहीतरी शेर शायरी करायची वगैरे असतात.
If we could
उल्ल्यार म्हणून उल्ल्यार.
If we could mute the other set of people, otherwise it will be difficult. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, the interesting aspect of this pandemic is, despite of all that bad which has happened in our country and the worldwide, is that it's shown the mankind that it is very resilient. It is shown that yes, in the face of adversity, we can rise above our limitations and probably challenge all that what is in store for us. Right from the time the doctors stood up, the frontline people stood up and managed the first wave. Then the manufacturing companies, the scientists, the pharma companies stood up and came up with a vaccine so that we could manage the second wave. And thanks to all of this, we were able to manage the third wave in a considerable, easy manner than would have happened otherwise. the impact of all this has been tremendous, both positive and negative. So when we are saying the emerging trends, we have to be very mindful of the fact that what has really had happened, somebody would have done the same exercise 2 years ago, the emerging trends would have been very different. Today, where are those emerging trends coming in? What is really happening to the larger world we are really encountering? First and foremost, it is the time for innovation, where right from a class 10 student today is imagining that he or she would be in a position to probably create a business and maybe become a unicorn by the time he or she is 17, 18, 20. What is really happening is that the young India has suddenly found a huge aspiration for itself. In our parents' time, the aspiration was to get a job. Then it became a government job. In our times, it became a multinational company's job, and hence the IITs, the IIMs, the business schools, and so on and so forth were flourishing. Today, the aspiration of rural, semi-urban, semi-rural, and urban India is not that. The aspiration is to go and present their ideas in a Shark Tank. The idea of becoming an entrepreneur, idea of probably solving a problem which exists in the larger consumer space. This is a great trend. This is a great beginning. Before the pandemic, we had less than 10 or 12 unicorns. Today, we stand at 58 or more than that. Half of that has come in less than 1.5 years. A couple of months ago, I'm very proud. I come from an institution called MICA. I've taught for many, many years. And one of the students I taught 20 years ago was a guy called Varun Dua. Today happens to be the foundation day of MICA, so I'm reminiscing the times I've spent in the finest of the institution as a young academic. Many of you are young academic in this conference. Many of you are starting your academic journey. I'll come to that. Varun was a little different kid. He started a very unconventional career in insurance, unlike a lot of other Micans who would start in brand management, in advertising, in media, or research. He started his career in insurance. Extremely non-glamorous at that point of time. And 20 years ago, 2001, when he graduated, 21 years ago, insurance was like a compromise. That, oh, kahan naukri lagi? Insurance mein kaam kar rahe. Arey, Ogilvy mein naukri nahi laga. Britannia mein naukri nahi laga. Insurance mein kya kaam kar? But he stuck. He got the basics of understanding the consumer and the basics of running a business there. Many, many years later, I met him at MICA for the 10th year reunion of his batch. So he passed out in 2003. And he said, Varun, kya kar rahe ho at Chota Canteen? He said, sir, ek insurance tech ka idea hai, technology idea hai. I've got an IIT co-founder when trying to pitch to the companies. So he created a company called CoverFox, which became a tech-driven insurance aggregator. He got some funding from Mr. Narayan Murthy and few others, made up to a certain level, and then quit. Then he sold off his company 4 years ago and shifted base to Bangalore. Why Bangalore? Because that's where tech is happening. That's where a lot of innovations are happening, and started to build a company from scratch. That company today is called Echo, ACKO, Echo General Insurance. And as on before Diwali, it turned into a unicorn. It's got a valuation of $1.1 billion. And Varun Dua has been able to create a company of 200 people which has become a billion-dollar valuation. He comes from a similar background, lower middle class, working parents. He doesn't come from any of those elite systems of South Bombay or rich families of South Delhi and so on and so forth. He comes from an extremely humble, working class, educated family background. But he dared to dream. Not many in his batch would have done that. He stands out. Why? Because many were, today his batch is doing great. His seniors and juniors from the organizations are doing great. They are CXOs and CMOs and CEOs of the various companies, but none of them have got a company which is a valuation of $1.1 billion. And that is New India. That's a trend which didn't exist 20 years ago. Nobody dared today with almost 58 to 60 unicorns, and most of the founders are young. I think the New India is waking up of value creation. The New India is waking up to create new wealth. They are unapologetic about the fact that they have dreams. 20, 25, 30 years ago, the dreams was to get a job, to probably become a great manager. Business was not meant for people who are not from the business families. Even from the business families, it was only the traditional businesses or the traditional business families which existed. The New India and the new trend, and I'm sure a lot of DY Patil students, management students are sitting here, is to look at solving a consumer problem, solving a social problem, whichever way you take it. It's extremely critical that at your age and stage now, that you'd look at where the world is moving in. And world is moving in various different layers. There is one layer which is only technology. That's not the be all and the end all of it. There is one layer which is essentially trying to solve large, huge social, medical, human problems. There is one layer which is trying to go up, out from the world of this world to the universe, which is the Teslas of the world, the SpaceX of the world and others. So there are many, many, many layers of this world, and they are all moving and creating a new trend in diverse fields. There is a trend which are happening in pharma, which is different. The trend which is happening in the AI-driven medical technology, which is very different. It's a trend which is happening in creating technology-driven social solutions for the farmers in the agri-tech space. That itself is a great trend which is now happening. Now, if that's where the world is moving, the question to be asked to the management professional, and especially to the teachers who are here or young academics who are here in this particular conference, is that what are you bringing to the class? If you look at your own curriculum, you didn't need a new education policy to tell you that you are redundant. You didn't need an external expert to come and say, this is what you're not teaching in the business schools. Mr. Mateti is right. Mr. Mateti is right. Business schools, especially the management schools, and I've spent 25 years, are really, really 10 years behind what the world is already into. And no amount of incremental work of going and talking to the industry and probably bringing some of those practices back will solve that. You have to flip the model. The inside out model has to be thought through, that you have a standard curriculum, you add few bits here and there, and probably you have a formula to make a kid employable. I don't think that's going to work. That worked in the 90s and the early 2000s. Even IIMs, and I've set up an IIM myself. I've taught in many business, top business schools. We are still very behind. We are still very behind in terms of what is really happening in the classroom. The case method, and Harvard has pioneered, this is the 100th year of the case method. I respect the case method, but beyond a point, that is also has got its limitations. So what is really needed is to create a first ecosystem Datar, or the Harvard dean, has presented a very interesting model of a triangle for the business school students. And I would like to present that again. It's called the triangle of knowing, doing, and being. The knowing part, the doing part, and the being part. About self, about skills, about managing failure, managing adversities in personal life. You're not becoming Narendra Modi today. You're not solving large problems. You're solving not getting into a good company or probably failing in a business venture. How do you manage that is critical. How do you train yourself? The knowing bit, the content and the context are critical. I would say the context is more critical than the content because content is changing much faster. I'm not sure how much your books, somebody mentioned my book. I don't even recommend my book to anyone anymore because my last edition had come 4 years ago and the world has moved so fast in the last 4 years that our text, the written text, yes, the grammar is there, but the written text is beyond a point, the context, the cases, they're all redundant. So what is needed is to create an ecosystem in the campuses you are working in. Each one of your students, whether they're undergraduate students or postgraduate students, you have to make them create new ideas and business models around. Make them practice, make them channelize some, give a seed fund, some money from yourself, create your own company. Try it out for 2 years. Set up an enterprise. There are two benefits of it. You find your co-founders in the campus. You've got 2 years to fail. Whatever your teachers are teaching, they're getting the context and you're trying to practice what is being taught. And you're trying to figure out what is the difference between theory and practice. What is the large gap which exists between theory and practice? Till the time you do it, you don't know. My mentor, Dr. Shrikant of SPJ in Bombay once told me that there is beyond a point you can't keep on creating strategy. You have to do execution. Sometimes we shoot and then we aim. You can't keep on preparing to aim and never shoot. This is what is the problem with business schools. It's like teaching fishing by correspondence course. We know everything about fishing, but can we do fishing? No, nobody knows about it. Because we are not being taken to a pond to finally see and do it, to be figuring out how exactly that happens. This is the problem. You have to bring context to the campus. You have to invert the model. You have to teach what is needed to succeed in different businesses. And yes, you have to take a lot of input from industry in terms of the best practices, in terms of soft skills, in terms of critical thinking, in terms of language, new age technology. All of that are skill driven. So you have to shift the knowledge focus of content to a lot of skill. You have to create an ecosystem within the campus. You have to have, if there are 60 students in your class, at least create 30 enterprises, 20, 15 enterprises, and let them see how do they fail in 2 years. Because if most of the time you'll fail, which is good, because if you are successful, you don't need a job from campus. And you fail, which in all probability you might, your CVs, nobody will look at your CV. Yes, you've been taught marketing, finance, HR, operations. Those are all hygiene. You've done a couple of certifications, you know a bit of skill, that's fine. But what is your story? Story sells. Yes, your idea is fine, but your story sells. Your narrative sells. You got a great story to tell the recruiter that I did this enterprise for 2 years. These are my learning. These are my failures. These are my high points. These are my low points. You got a great story in front of a recruiter. Your skills are hygiene. The way you get, picked up by a corporate coming to your campus is where you have a story. And it's not a makeup story that you write one day before The recruiter comes in, you've built that story, you lived that story for 2 years. You've got 24 hours in a day. Your classroom is not more than 6 hours. You sleep for another 6 hours. You got 12 hours to do an enterprise, to practice, to do something. Check it out, do it. You've got Wi-Fi, you've got laptop computers, you've got a great campus, you've got an amazing mentors and your teachers. So my recommendation to the young students, MBA students of DYPIMS, is to try out different ideas, test it out in Pune market. Let's see what happens. Now, coming to the academic part of it, the researchers, the writers, and the professors who are present here, I think what is really needed in academic research in India today is to find relevance for the industry, especially if it's coming from business schools. If you're coming from a liberal arts college or a history or sociology or psychology, you can do your esoteric research, it's okay. But if you are a business researcher, where is the relevance for industry? You have to be rigorous in your approach and research methodology about writing, about your sampling, about your research models in which you're doing it. But don't lose the sight of relevance. Because if your research is not relevant and there's only 5 people, 10 people read it as part of the journals, I don't think your work is really reaching where it should reach. And you're doing it just because you have to publish it. Don't do research just because you have to publish it. Do research because you have a genuine research question to solve. And don't take easy routes. So third, now young researchers, and I've built institutions and hired faculty for many years. One of the problems I've seen in young researchers, fresh out of PhDs, is that you're not trained in teaching in business schools, either undergraduate or postgraduate. Your PhD programs is not meant to make you a teacher. The irony is that you are hired for a teaching job, you get paid for a teaching job, and research is also to be done so that you get your promotion. These are two extremely different sides of academic life. You have to do research to get promoted, but then your feedback and your teaching, and it's so important so that you get a job out of it. Now, my recommendation to a lot of youngsters who are just finishing their PhDs and want to become teachers, professors, is to train yourself to become a good teacher, which means your course curriculum design, to classroom management, to preparation of a topic, mastering the case method, attending workshops, faculty development workshops on effective teaching, effective pedagogy. One of my professors at Harvard told me that your benchmark for effective teaching is that, will you attend your own classes? Every day when you're going to teach, are you that effective that you will attend that? And you can't hide, you can't lie to yourself. If you are, then you're not doing justice to teaching profession. And teaching, I believe, and we have got some people, we have got wing commanders here, and there are 3 professions I feel, even if you have an aptitude towards it, don't enter if you don't have an attitude towards it. One is defense forces, because it's not a job. Your life is on fire. Second is medicine, because you can't become a doctor just because you can become a doctor. You have to become a doctor for the right reason. You need to have empathy. And third is teaching as a profession. Just don't do it just because you happen to have a PhD. If you're not built like a teacher, if you're not training yourself like a teacher, I think you have to ask this question. You can really very, very well use your knowledge of PhD into industry. No problems, but you're dealing with youngsters, you're dealing with young talent, you're dealing with young minds, you're impacting your young minds. So it's very critical that you need to be in teaching as a profession for right reason. I remember a couple of years ago, one of my old students spoke to me and said, sir, I want to do a PhD. He had an industry experience of 15, 18 years. I said, why do you want to do a PhD? He said, sir, teaching is my second love. And I really got riled, and I really gave my point of view. And I wrote an article on LinkedIn very clearly that don't second love me. If you are built to be a teacher, you need to be there for the right reason. You need to be deeply empathetic. You need to be deeply committed to make teaching, learning as part of your life goal. Otherwise, don't enter this profession. So when you are looking at becoming a good teacher, you have to always ask, is my content new? Is my content relevant? Is my content market ready? What Mr. Mateti rightly said, are you bringing those transferable skills to the classroom and making those students learn those things? What are you doing in those 30 hours or 60 hours or 1 credit or 3 credits or whatever? So it's extremely important to bring that context, bring all of this together so that you have it. The trick is that don't try to teach. Try to make students learn a domain, because all of us, even if I have spent 30, 40 years in a discipline, I'm still a learner in the discipline. The discipline is moving faster than I can catch. And hence you can never be the be all, the end all of a domain or a subject. You're always a learner. You're always a student of the subject. But what you really need to do is that find ways through which a student can learn a domain better, not just by listening to. So there are 4 stages of learning: Shravan, Manan, Chintan, Dhyan. I've added Abhyas in between, the 5 stages. Let's keep the Dhyan away. So Shravan, Manan, Chintan, Abhyas. Listening, thinking, reflection, action, practice. So you have to build these components in those 20 sessions. What should students be listening? Then peer group learning of discussion, thinking, reflection, asking questions, disagreeing with the paradigm. Then practice. Every subject in business management has to be practice oriented. You have to provide projects. You have to take students to the market. You have to ensure that the field projects come to your students there inside the classroom. Probably if you created an enterprise, practice it, do it. Then bring learnings back to the classroom. That loop has to be completed. So it's easier when we say that, yes, let's look at the paradigm shift in business management. The business management, the biggest paradigm shift is that it has to be learner-centric. It cannot be teacher-centric. It has to be built in a manner that lot of learning, the learner learns in a particular manner and practices that particular learning. And you need, as a teacher, need to do whatever it takes to bring that context and content inside, and the practice of it and action of it inside the class. And that can only happen when you're working closely with industry, as Mr. Mateti said. It can only happen when you're bringing, like Mr. Mateti and others, inside the classroom and collaborating with them, writing cases with them, who are creating your own individual content. So a lot of you researchers, when you become teachers, start writing cases. One of the biggest regret I have in my life is that I have not written enough cases, because I moved to academic administration very early, very young age in my life. I was a researcher, did good work in research, wrote books and all that stuff, and then became dean. So I became very early. I was 32 when I became dean. Okay. And hence the biggest issue with that is that, yes, I've learned academic administration. I ran business management, universities and colleges and IIMs and others, is that I couldn't write as many cases because I didn't have enough time. Now I've started doing it again with some people. I've just written a case on the Tashkent files, the film, the Tashkent file in IIM Ahmedabad with the IIM Ahmedabad young colleague. So I'm coming back. So write cases, attend case writing workshops, case teaching workshops, so that you can create the content with industry inside a usable work. So don't be lopsided in your research about only research articles. Research articles are needed for you to get peer-reviewed respect, but convert those research articles into newspaper articles, become a thought leader, bring context inside the class, which means write cases, and over a period of time, develop a perspective about a domain and a subject. I spent much time in my life when I was young in the retail sector, researching it, talking, traveling, meeting those top CEOs, attending conferences, sitting in the strategy meets, working with the managers and bringing all that into the classroom. And that's the way I was able to write that book when I was 27 or 28. I think I wrote in 2007. So it's been how many years? Almost 15 years since my book came out for the first time. So I was able to do all that because I was working very hard, and I was true to the subject that I don't understand that subject as much. So I have to work doubly hard. So all of that is needed for young researchers to bring all that into your classroom. I think I've overshot the time. So I would close this session by another 4 lines with your permission. First 2 lines are for the students, and last 2 lines are for administrators and teachers. So it goes like this, कि सपनों को उड़ने के लिए हवाई जहाज का टिकट नहीं लगता. सपनों को उड़ने के लिए हवाई जहाज का टिकट नहीं लगता, बस पलकों को उम्मीदों के पंख चाहिए. So you need to dream big, youngsters, like Varun Dua did. And I'm so inspired by his life and his journey. सपनों को उड़ने के लिए हवाई जहाज का टिकट नहीं लगता, बस पलकों को उम्मीदों के पंख चाहिए. और ख्याल पकाने के चूल्हे कम नहीं. All of you have got great ideas. ख्याल पकाने के चूल्हे कम नहीं, लेकिन नई सोच के कोयलों को एक चिंगारी चाहिए. नई सोच के कोयलों को एक चिंगारी चाहिए. सपनों को उड़ने के लिए हवाई जहाज का टिकट नहीं लगता. And my last 2 lines are people who have built institutions, the very fine institutions like DYPIMS. इसकी सुर्ख कंक्रीट की इमारतों में ज्ञान कसमसाता है. सुर्ख कंक्रीट की इमारतों में ज्ञान कसमसाता है. विचारों को पनपने के लिए हरी घास खुली धूप चाहिए. सपनों को उड़ने के लिए हवाई जहाज का टिकट नहीं लगता, बस पलकों को उम्मीदों के पंख चाहिए. With these lines, thank you, Pallavi, for having me here, and thank you, the management of DYPIMS, and thank you, Mr. Mateti, and everybody else. Have a great evening. Thank you.
It is said, all is well that ends well. Yes, we have witnessed the very last session of our 2 days National Conference 2022 by an eminent speaker, Dr. Dwarika Unyal. Sir, thank you for understanding and capturing everyone's mindset on Saturday evening. And it was really a relevant poem recited by you. Your meaningful modern poem will be remembered by all. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing the factual examples which are real inspiration for all researchers to further the areas of interest. You have really touched to all variety of business domains and shared their today's scenario and how they are changing in the new normal. It was a very informative and stunning session. Sir, I also wish to say something on behalf of all student fraternity on this occasion. इरादे नेक हो तो सपने भी साकार होते हैं, और सच्ची लगन हो तो रास्ते आसान होते हैं. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time from your busy schedule and addressing us today. On behalf of the management, I thank you for providing your gracious presence to join us today to enrich our experience. We also have with us Mr. Sudhir Mateti, sir, and he wishes to further share his thoughts on the same.
Highly motivating, Unyal sir. Amazing thought. I appreciate your thought. You inspired me to share my principal thought, which I generally share. See, most important thing that I wanted to address after listening to Mr. Unyal is, most of us are in our daily rut. We do everything that we do for an operational daily life. We earn money to pay our bills. We earn money to eat. We get up, do all this routine work. One important question I want to leave it with you as food for thought. Understand what is the objective of everything. What is the purpose of education? Are you educating to score a job? Are you educating to do a business, make some money? If yes, then what is the objective of making money? What do you want to do with that money? Build, probably a house, a car, basics. What next? So I just want to leave this thought. What is the core purpose of job, or what is the core purpose of education? And largely, what is the core purpose of your life? I leave this talk with a wonderful statement that I commonly say: the purpose of life is to find a purpose. If we are able to find a purpose in life, we will be blessed. Let me share what is my purpose of life before I end this talk. My purpose of life is to enable people, wherever they are struggling, to show them various millions of possibilities that exist. Remember, when you have exhausted all your possibilities, which surely means that you have exhausted all the possibilities that you were aware of. There are millions of possibilities which still exist, and we have not reached an inch closer to them. So I second Dr. Unyal's thought, amazing thoughts, and I wish that all of you educate not with a purpose only to score a job or to be a businessman or to be an entrepreneur or to make money in life, but your purpose of education is to educate yourself towards further horizon. And this horizon should show you a ray of hope for the entire community, probably for the globe or probably for a larger purpose. If you think big and सोच विचार बड़ी होंगे तो रास्ते ऑटोमेटिक खुल जाएंगे. I end this talk with one simple sentence: have a wonderful objective in life, have a purpose in life. From an HR perspective, most people feel that interview is a process of rejection. This is not right. Interview is a process of selection. See, understand, you take hundreds of interviews, a handful of people are selected. Most people presume that they are interviewing to reject. No. Remember, if you understand the objective thoroughly well, believe me, the outcome will be beautiful. So just stating this as an analogy, I wanted to tell you, please have a purpose in life. If you find a purpose in life, you have achieved nirvana before you began your journey. That's all from my end. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Unyal. Amazing listening to you. Thank you. It's my pleasure having you here and listening to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madeti sir. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. It was great pleasure having you here as well. I now request Assistant Professor Meenal Vaksore, Anchoring Committee DYPIMS, to propose vote of thanks. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Rutuja. Honorable dignitaries, Chief Guest Dr. Dwarika Unyal, Pro Vice Chancellor, RV University, Bangalore, Guest of honor, Mr. Sudhir Mateti, Vice President HR, Sintel Pune. Management DYPIMS, Executive Director, Wing Commander PVC Patil retired. MD Operations, Dr. Bharat Chavan Patil. Consultant Director, Professor DR Karnure. Head Corporate Relations, Dr. JG Patil. Director, Dr. Ashutosh Misal. Eminent academicians, learned faculty members, research scholars, and students from other institutes and DYPIMS. Henry Bicher has said, "Gratitude is the fairest blossom which springs from the soul." I, Mrs. Meenal Vagsore, feel privileged and take the honor to express a deep sense of gratitude to all present here. It's been a momentous 2 days function. We had a brilliant theme, paradigm shift in business management, emerging trends, and competitive strategies. We know that conferences are priceless chances to sharpen our saw of knowledge by learning new skills in a different environment. And to top it, we had the best of teams selected so that both the class of speakers and the quality of papers were of the highest rank. Our institute has been instrumental in adopting a methodical approach of brainstorming and consulting with DYPIMS IQAC, management, and a team of industry and academic experts to find some of the recent and original themes. VUCA world, change management, human capital, intelligent enterprise, stakeholder engagement, digitization, artificial intelligence, sustainable development, resiliency, hybrid models, pre and post COVID situation were some of the terminologies that created the vibe for the conference theme throughout. We had participation of research scholars, learned faculty, and students with an ever learning attitude from across the country: Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, and Kerala, to name a few, resulting in astounding numbers. We have a participant from Pakistan as well. In total, 62 research papers were received from faculty and students. A big round of applause for such humongous participation. To place on record, I also thank all the corporate tycoons and academic masters we had throughout the conference, sharing their outlook, valuable pool of content, and rich experience selflessly. Our deep regards to these seasoned corporate and academic gurus. I also sincerely thank the evaluators for the technical session, for student and faculty. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Track experts, your presence of both and interaction has enhanced the participants' knowledge and has boosted their confidence immensely. The super coordination, cooperation, and support of all the committees comprising teaching, non-teaching, and wonderful students of DYPIMS made this experience even more amazing, enticing, and fulfilling. I owe my gratitude to all those who contributed directly, indirectly, minutely, or immensely. To make a glass full, every drop counts. Cheers to their ever enthusiastic willingness to take the task on completion, going beyond their comfort zones. As I always say, none of us is as smart as all of us. DYPIMS surely is a reflection of this leadership and teamwork spirit. A big thank you to the management for their unconditional support, guidance, and showing stanch faith in us. Behind every triumph we attain lie the manifold efforts of our committed 4 pillars of strength of DYPIMS. That is, Wing Commander PVC Patil retired, Dr. Bharat Chavan Patil, Professor DR Karnure, and Dr. JG Patil. And I must take the name of the captain of our ship, Dr. Ashutosh Misal. Where we stand today is a combination of all your endeavors and efforts, and we know that we can work for it with renewed confidence, and we know that you would all be there to celebrate our victories as well as cushion our falls. I would also like to take a moment to thank to this DYPIMS platform, which acts as a ground for learning and execution that continues to inspire our students, staff, and the faculty to exhibit their best of form with a great zeal and passion. And I'm undoubtedly sure the lessons learned here will remain with the participants throughout their life, that will help them pave a way in becoming great leaders, responsible and civilized leaders.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope to see you all for the next year's national conference to rejoice and cherish the good old memories and even more at approximately the same time, but on a grand platform where we meet and interact face to face each other, hoping the situation of COVID ending soon. We now move towards the most awaited part of the national conference, that is announcement of the Best Paper Awards. I call upon Professor Shivaji Mane sir to announce the winners. Thank you.
Camera. Thank you so much, Minal ma'am. A very good evening to one and all. I'm Professor Shivaji Mane. I'm here to declare the Best Paper Awards for the National Conference 2022. Let me first of all congratulate all the participants and paper presenters for their wonderful sessions. And it was really tough for our judges to make out the results, but because of there was a very, very minor difference between the winners and the runners up and the other participants. Let me begin with the first category, that is the student category. And I would like to request our guest of honor, Mr. Sudhirji Matedi sir, to kindly give away the awards for the Best Research Paper Award for student category. So I'll begin with the second runner-up in the student category, and the award goes to Mr. Abhijit Bhavsar and Mrs. Neetu Kumari. Congratulations, Abhijit. Second prize, or first runner-up, we can say, it goes to the student category to Miss Zina Saji and Nidhin Johnny. Heartiest congratulations. And the first prize in the student category for the Best Paper Award goes to Mr. Pushkar Somani and Mrs. Neetu Kumari. Heartiest congratulations, ma'am. Students are also, writing the best of the best research papers, and it's a great sign for our nation because these are the future researchers. And I think that I don't, feel, I have 100% faith in the young generation that is the future of this nation is very much bright. Now, the main attraction of the national conference is that the Best Research Paper Awards for the faculty category. And I request the chief guest of our function, Dr. Dwarika Unial sir, to kindly give away the Best Paper Research Awards. So I'm going to announce the second runner-up in the faculty category, and the award goes to Dr. Pooja Nagpal from HRM Specialization. Now the first runner-up or the second prize goes in two faculties. In that, first of all, I'll announce Dr. Radhika KP from Finance Specialization. Congratulations, Dr. Radhika ma'am. And another her colleague is that Miss Bhuneshwari from Finance Specialization. So heartiest congratulations, ma'am, you as well. And the last, but the best faculty best research award goes to one and only Varun Chakraborty from Business Analytics Specialization. Heartiest congratulations, Varun. We are really happy to have you here, and we are extremely thankful to each one of you who have sent their papers and presented their papers. So it was a really great experience with you all. Thank you, Sudhir Mateti sir, for giving the awards. And thank you so much, Dwarika Unyal sir, for giving the awards for the faculties as well. So thank you so much. And please, I request each one of you to turn on your camera for taking the group photographs. Everyone, please turn on the cameras. Now I will hand over to Professor Minal Wakchavre, as he wanted to, take things further. Thank you so much. That's it from my side.
Thank you, Professor Shivaji Mane. I also request the audience to kindly fill up the feedback link, which will be provided in the chat box. And please note that you all will receive the e-certificates by coming Wednesday. Okay. Please pose yourself for the group photograph. I request everyone present here to please switch on their camera.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. So that's it from our side. I hereby declare the close of National Conference. Thank you so much, and you all have a lovely evening ahead. Bye-bye. Take care. Make sure you all fill in the feedback link provided in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.